This is where it gets dangerous. If you have atheists in power and they're not seeing with their eyes human souls, what are they looking at? They're looking now at objects. Now wait a second. If you're looking at an object, there is a far greater probability of having corrupt leaders sneak in there that have no problem taking your rights away, having you suffer, and possibly killing the people, because I'm not looking at them as valuable souls. So this is why it's dangerous to have atheism in government leadership, and why it's so crucial to have Christianity as the basis of our lawmaking. Animals are not made in his image. We have attributes. Jesus rose from the dead.
Okay, but how is Jesus your proof of God?
He rose from the dead. I said that already.
For that, what's your proof that Jesus rose from the dead besides the Bible?
Do you know that the Bible is a group of books and manuscripts comprised into one book? It is. Bible's 66 books put into one.
I mean, depending on who you ask, sure, but that doesn't prove shit. I could write 66 books right now all saying that, you know, Pastafarianism is correct and all hail the spaghetti god. That doesn't mean shit, you know?
There is no other religion that had a human being walk among humans, them write about it, them witness him physically, and then he did these miracles. No, Greek mythology does not have any eyewitnesses of those gods.
Right.
No, it doesn't. They don't. No, it doesn't. They don't have. They don't. have.
That is the definition of eyewitness account. Let them finish.
They wrote they were fighting with the gods. There was not. You guys are confusing an apple and an orange. They did not say that they were walking amongst those gods, physically witnessing them with their own eyes.
Yeah, if you want to put it within the space so it doesn't impact anybody. I mean,
Having sex with the God, having sex with the sex.
This is not true, young man. This is fairy tale of what they said. But wait a minute. Did they watch them do that? Did the God walk among the human beings? No. Pull it up. They write these things. You actually have. There was walk among men and women. Okay, great. Saying that they could walk among men and women. This is very different than actual eyewitness testimony. Hold on. I'm trying to help you understand an apple and an orange. You can say that they walked among humans. That's fairy tale. You can write about your experiences actually walking with this person named Jesus, and that's what we have. We don't have that category with the Greek gods.
What makes yours more believable than the Greek gods?
We have the documents of the people that walked with him. We do not have Greeks, 25,000 ancient manuscripts of the Greeks writing down, this is what Hercules did with us today. This is what Hercules ate with us today. No, we don't.
In the Odyssey, that's the whole fucking point.
That's a fairy tale.
Just like the Bible.
No, it's not.
Just like the Bible.
No, it's not, young man. Historians, even agnostic historians, would be laughing at you if you don't believe that Jesus walked this earth. There's agnostic and atheist historians that would say if you at the very least deny the existence of Jesus and that he died on the cross, you have no clue what you're talking about.
Nazareth that got strung up on a cross, but it doesn't mean he was a magic man who turned water into wine.
No, wait a second.
There may have been an Odysseus, but that doesn't mean he had like the help of Hermes.
Odysseus. No, we don't have the followers of Odysseus writing down everything that he did. We know that Muhammad Lord help them. You just showed me an apple and an orange. When you showed me what you showed me on a Google search, I'm trying to teach you. You can't see it. When you say this person did this and walked amongst human beings, that's just a blind claim without any proof. Anybody can say that.
He admits it.
Wait a minute. That's very different than a first-hand account of writing a biography of somebody.
Greek mythology?
Greek mythology is not a biography writing.
Biographies of Greek mythology, people that walked in Rome.
There is something that is called an apple and orange comparison, and you're trying to do the same thing with Jesus with Greek gods. The Greek god mythology was people just said they walked among human beings. This is what we call in writing style. Historians look for the writing style. It's like folklore, fairy tale folklore. When you ask historians the writing style of the scriptures, the writing style of the Bible, it's not written in folklore. It actually names real geographical places, their exact locations. Hold on, now young man, I didn't say that that's the only criteria they look for. There's many criteria. But what I'm trying to say is there's too much criteria that adds up to show that it is a historic writing because they have eyewitness accounts. Eyewitness accounts. You don't have any show me one proof of an eyewitness account in Greek mythology. Apostle Paul saw Jesus and he died for Jesus. How about the writings of Peter? Peter was an eyewitness account of Jesus. What about James, the half-brother of Jesus? We have his eyewitness writings in the Bible. What about Jude? We have the eyewitness account of Jude. What about John? We have the eyewitness account of John. What about Matthew? We have the eyewitness account of Matthew, who saw Jesus. Witness what? Yeah, demons do things.
They have eyewitness accounts of these Greek gods. You have
eyewitness accounts of your God as well. That doesn't make your God more valid than a Greek God.
Did they die for their belief?
Yes.
Did they die? Why did the apostles die for Jesus Christ when they knew that he died for their sins? They wouldn't die for something they know was a lie. They knew that he rose from the dead. When they saw the risen Christ, they knew what they saw, right? Does a human being die for something they know is a lie?
Yeah, what? Like,
does a human being die for something they know is a lie?
yes.
Nobody dies for something they know is a lie.
Like he said,
This is actually something that historians look for. I think you guys need to actually study history better. Historians look for part of evidence. One of the things they look. No, wait a second. I didn't say dying for your belief. I said dying for something you know is a lie. There's a difference, young man. Again, this is where you're in a place of higher education. I'm surprised that you're paying all this money for these professors to not teach you the difference between an apple and an orange. You cannot. Who?
the apostles were fools and heretics who died for a lost cause.
Their cause still is existent to this day. The gospel is still here and it's still spreading. You can't stop it. The gates of hell have not prevailed against the church of God. Now, you are telling me what historians don't believe. They would totally laugh at you right now. I'm sorry. Historians would laugh at you saying that people would die for something they know is a lie. People will die for what they believe. Jihadists will die for their belief in Islam. But wait a minute. If the apostles thought that the body of Jesus did not rise, was stolen, for example, and they knew it was a lie, and they're not going to go die and preach something and die for what they know is a lie.
Yes, they would.
No, they wouldn't. Nobody does that.
They're doing it right now.
Nobody does that.
You were fooled, my friend. You were fooled. That's why you're out here preaching. You were fooled as well.
Historians do not look for this evidence, young man. Historians look at this, seeing even Cosmic Skeptic, the kid's starting to question his atheist beliefs and see that the proof of the resurrection is extremely powerful. Cosmic Skeptic, the YouTuber.
Oh, Cosmic.
He's a very famous atheist YouTuber. And he's now coming to the conclusions that the very strong argument of the resurrection, that this is something that is true, what I'm saying. Nobody will die for something they intentionally... Nobody will die for something they know is a lie. They will die for a belief, but they will, if they know, if those apostles and those 500 eyewitnesses knew that really Jesus didn't rise from the dead, his body was stolen from the tomb. We stole it from the tomb, but we're going to go die for what we just frauded the whole world about. Nobody psychologically dies for what they know is a lie. They'll die for a belief. So if the apostles saw the risen Christ, they didn't steal his body, they knew his body wasn't stolen, they literally saw the risen Christ, interacted with him for 40 days, 500 eyewitnesses saw that. This is what historians are looking at as evidence. Wow. Then they continued on to die horrible, gruesome, terrible deaths. On top of that, what was happening to Christians right after Jesus? What was happening to them? Since you're such a historian, what was happening to Christians? Tell me, young man.
I'm not a historian.
Okay, you're not a historian, but you're right about history, and I'm wrong. Thank you. So this is the arrogance of the students today. So tell me what was happening to Christians, young man. What was happening to Christians back then? They were being persecuted. Thank you. Please, you should probably listen to somebody about history since you don't know about this. Now, if the Christians were being persecuted, if the Christians were being killed for their beliefs, if the Christians were being, the Greeks weren't, but if the Christians were being persecuted for their beliefs, the Christians, the Muslims were killing for their beliefs, not being killed for, oh, study the Quran, young man. Study the Quran, especially chapter 9. The Christians were not told, like the Muslims, go and kill the pagans. The Christians were told, love those that are killing you, pray for your enemies, be persecuted, die for the sake of Christ, forgive them. Now wait a second, if this message was so false, and they believed that this message was so false, and then they knew that he didn't really rise from the dead, his body was stolen, we took his body, something like that, nobody will continue to have Rome and the Jews persecuting their families, killing them, burning their libraries, risking, endangering their livelihood, throwing them in prison, and then they're still gonna preach, still love our enemies, don't fight back. So when people like to say Christianity was created so that they could gain power in society, they didn't gain power, they continued to be persecuted. So this theory is what historians look for. All of this evidence show, wow, this must be a very valid story of believers that were being persecuted and telling other people continue to stay persecuted and died for something that they knew was not a lie, because if it was a lie, they wouldn't die for it. Nobody does that. So they didn't gain any economic power, they didn't gain any societal power, they continued for centuries to be killed, beaten, arrested, persecuted, and they all kept writing down the same thing. Love your enemies. Love your enemies. Don't fight back Rome. Love them. Spread the gospel and love of Jesus. Spread the forgiveness of Jesus. So this is what we see in Christianity. This is what we see. All of this points to this being true, because you cannot fabricate something that you know is a lie and that's also continuing to. Does anybody have any questions at all? What is your question?
Should be separate from the government or the state?
Do I think religion should be separate from the state?
Yes.
I think that the state should stay out of the Church of Jesus Christ business.
I'm saying the other way around though. Should religion...
I don't think the government has the right to touch the Church of God.
That's not what I'm saying.
I know.
Oh,
I'm intentionally saying that.
Then why? You're not answering my question.
Because I believe in a higher government that comes from heaven. I believe in higher morals that come from heaven. And my laws come from God Almighty. And if there's any laws of man, like for example, that tries to hinder how we practice our faith.
Well, we have free speech, we have free religion.
Right.
So government doesn't interfere with your religion. I'm saying, should religion interfere with law?
I believe that Christianity, that our law should be based off of Christian values.
So you do believe religion should be in government?
Not all religion. I believe specifically Christianity should. All of our laws should be based off of the Bible and Christian values. I believe that. Because Jesus Christ rose from the dead to prove his morality is perfect. So if his morality is perfect, our morality is flawed, and if we use flawed morality to make laws, we're going to make evil laws mixed in with good laws.
That's a law.
Well, like for example, like I don't believe in abortion. So you know what I mean? So abortion goes against the laws of God. It goes against the Bible. It goes against the will of God. So for example, that's why I believe that Christianity, the laws of the land, should be based off Christianity, because then abortion would be illegal.
It is illegal. You got what you want.
I mean completely illegal, like completely. There's a form of it being illegal, but I'm talking completely. Like all 50 states, not even a week, nothing. That's what I think it should be. I don't believe that it's okay to kill a baby.
It's not a baby.
I believe it is a baby because it's life. A zygote is life. Even science now is acknowledging the second a sperm fertilizes an egg, it literally transforms in that instant into a new organism, and it's called life.
And what about sperm? The millions of sperm that die when you jack off.
Sperm does not become a baby without an egg.
But it's still a potential life.
No, I'm not saying that a zygote is potential life. I'm saying a zygote is life.
Then a sperm, in your ideology, should be
A sperm is potential life. That's different than actual life.
You should just
A sperm cannot become a human being on its own. It has to have an egg. This is apples and orange. This is an apples and orange comparison. It's not a human life. It is not a human soul.
But a zygote.
The second a sperm fertilizes an egg, that instant it becomes what the Lord teaches us, a human living soul, right there.
What species is sperm then? Is it a different creature than humans?
We believe that the human soul does not live in semen.
Okay, so where does it live?
We believe that the human soul has a beginning starting point.
When is that?
So do you believe that humans have a soul?
No.
Okay, well that's why you have your view, right? So that's another reason why I believe that Christian morals should be the basis of laws being made, because otherwise we're going to have people like this who don't believe we even have a soul. Because if you don't believe we have a soul, you're just one step away from being a Stalin or a Mao, just killing off tens of millions of people. Because hey, I'm not going to look at them as souls. I'm going to look at them as, I don't know what I think there was a world leader, I forget his name, that thought of the people as rats. But that's the whole point. If you actually see people as human souls, now suddenly the government's not going to be so quick to kill its people. So this is where it gets philosophical. This is why I think it's important that Christian values are the basis of our laws. What is a soul? A soul is a very distinct being that makes up a human that is made in the image of God.
So only humans have souls?
All human beings have souls.
Only humans have souls. So a cat, a dog, a frog doesn't have souls.
I don't have enough evidence from the scripture, young man, to say that animals have souls, because the Bible says that humans are made in the image of God, and God has an emotion and a living soul, and we're made in his image, so we have emotion and a living soul. For example, human beings are the only species that shed human tears for the purpose of emotion. Yes, there's some animal species that have tear ducts and make tears to hydrate their eyes. It is true. It is true. Human beings are the only known species that produce tears, listen to this part, for the purpose of emotional, sadness. It is true. There's animals that can get sad and whine, but they don't cry about it. And then there's other animals that have tear ducts, but it's to hydrate their eyes. But human beings specifically are the only species that we know of that have human tears, that have tears emotionally when we're sad, when we cry. So it shows this deep emotion that we have that animals don't. It's another proof that we're made in the image of God. And they're not.
Ravens literally hold funerals.
Do they shed tears?
I'm not talking about.
Because here's what I'm trying to say. God sheds tears. God sheds tears, and we're made in his image. God sheds tears. Ravens are not made in the image of God. God sheds tears. God is sad for the wicked. God doesn't want to condemn them. God doesn't want to send them to... Jesus wept over Jerusalem. This is the point I'm trying to make. It's not just some semantic argument. There's a deep meaning behind it. So now, here's why I want to go back to your point. If you don't believe human beings are souls, and we don't have that in government, we're going to have a dangerous government one day, because now we can have a Stalin or a Hitler or a Mao that killed off tens of millions of people through communist atheism.
But you think the government should...
No, listen to this. Communist atheism has killed more people than all religious wars in history combined just in the 20th century alone. That is true. You can look it up, young man. Stalin, Mao, yes, Stalin, I have a slip of the tongue sometimes, God forbid, I have to be perfect. Stalin, Mao, and Hitler alone, atheist communism, has killed more people in history than all religious wars in history combined. You can look that up. So we see now with Christianity, the leaders are going to see that people have human souls. So now we're not going to want to kill them off and take their rights and create communism. We want democracy and freedom and human rights. So this all stems from Christian values. Yes.
Can I actually ask a question?
You have a question? Go ahead.
So
It doesn't go farther
okay,
than
it's
that.
fine. Oh, so firstly, good afternoon.
Yeah,
And,
good afternoon.
I was going to say that it is a bit, in my opinion at least, a little bit disingenuous to just to market most totalitarian governments under the veil of communism. The thing is that communism is it's a bit of a dogmatic word in the sense that it's used to hide and underveil a lot of oppression. There is no doubt that Stalin has killed millions of people. Same thing with Mao, especially inadvertently through a lot of his policies.
Yeah.
But the same can be said for other governments that technically didn't call themselves communists. The thing is that if you're abiding by the true ideal of communism, and I'm not a communist myself, so I'm just on the sake of being fair. If you abide by the real definition of Marxism, what it is actually meant through the creator of Marxism, Karl Marx, it's not exactly close to what Stalin intended. The thing is that Lenin and Stalin disagreed with a lot of Marxist points, and so they kind of made edits to the ideal that benefited, at the end of the day, themselves and their elite group. So it's still an oligarchical system, and I do agree that obviously it's still bad. I don't know how.
So you agree communism is bad?
I agree.
Because I'll tell you what, in Miami there's a lot of Cuban people and descendants of Cubans, and every single Cuban that I've talked to, because Cuba right now is communist.
Yes.
Their families are suffering. Their families have a hard life. I just had, their laws are changing all the time. They have no basis for them. They turn off the power. Talk to if there's Cubans on this campus, tell your peers what your family is going through right now. Cuba is a great example of how communism does not work, and it stems from atheism. Okay? Our nation was founded off of biblical Christian values, and we have our Constitution and freedoms because of Christianity, not communism. In fact, these founding fathers came to break free from a lot of the 10 of the points of Marxism, such as crazy high taxation, not really having private property.
That's not a point of Marxism.
There's 10 points of Marxism. One of them is excessive taxation, and not really owning private property, taxing private property.
How it works in
I know what it works. My point is this: we can look at all the real-world examples of communism in history and today. You can look at Venezuela, pretty much communistic, socialistic, close, not exactly as bad as Cuba. It doesn't work. North Korea, it doesn't work. The people are slaves. The people are slaves. Whatever the government decides, they turn off the electric. Cuba doesn't have power. They don't know when their lights are gonna go off. Talk to the Cubans here. Talk to them. They'll tell you what their families are going through. Communism doesn't work.
If I may, if you're abiding by the logic that we have to take everything at face value, the name of Korea is the Democratic Republic of Korea, and we can all agree that it's not much of a democracy.
North Korea.
The thing is, again, if we operate by everything by its face value rather than the context, we misinterpret the true things. I do disagree. I'm sorry. My bad. I do agree with you that I don't think communism in its pure essence could ever work, because again, Karl Marx was not a really good economist. He was not very smart on how he does it. But I do believe in the application of certain ideals to democracy, because at the end of the day, I do believe in unalienable rights. I do believe in the separation.
Do you believe we have human souls?
I don't know what you mean by human soul, sir.
Do you believe that we have a soul?
Again, what does that mean? I'm not a Christian myself.
This is where it gets dangerous. This is where atheism in government gets dangerous.
I'm not an atheist per se either.
But you can't even tell me if you believe in a soul. So that tells me you're either agnostic or I don't know what you. I'm not. Okay.
I would lean.
Okay.
But again.
But still, listen. This is where it gets dangerous. If you have atheists in power, and they're not seeing with their eyes human souls, what are they looking at?
But again,
they're looking now at objects.
Sir.
Now wait a second. If you're looking at an object, there is a far greater probability of having corrupt leaders sneak in there that have no problem taking your rights away, having you suffer, and possibly killing the people, because I'm not looking at them as valuable souls. So this is why it's dangerous to have atheism in government leadership, and why it's so crucial to have Christianity as the basis of our lawmaking. Atheism and secularism is why we have abortion. We're not valuing human souls. We're not saying that zygote is a soul. We don't even believe in souls, and if we do, we don't really believe it's a soul until, I don't know, 3 months in the womb. When is it officially a soul?
Again,
when is it a soul? A soul means a human life made in the image of God, distinct from any other species. A soul that transcends that you are that when you die, your body goes in the ground and your soul travels into eternity. It's something that transcends your physical fleshly composition. So again, this is why we have danger when atheism is the basis for our lawmaking and governing. Because now the leaders are going to look at you as what? Not a human, not people, but what's a person to them? Because if it's not a valuable living soul, it's somebody that I can take the rights away, somebody that I can control, somebody that I can manipulate, somebody that I can turn their electric off like in Cuba, somebody that I can kill off like Stalin. That's what you're going to have when you have communist atheism or atheists in power. I don't believe that animals do.
You don't believe animals have souls, so you think animal abuse is okay?
No, that's a bit of a
Just whenever you just cue me in.
Yeah. So this goes back to our question why I believe Christianity should be the basis of our lawmaking, and I'm trying to prove my points that these are some of the proofs why it's so crucial.
Sir, if I may, I do agree with you that the founding fathers were Christian in the sense that, well, some of them weren't technically. A lot of them were, and they probably agreed with some ideals that you.
Some of them were deists, but ultimately they did get a lot of their morals from the Bible.
Why did they write the First Amendment?
Most of law comes from a lot of the Bible. I won't deny the importance of religion in our lawmaking because, again, it's one of the first moral codes that universally people use. But there was a contract in the Constitution that is the separation of powers of church and state.
No, that's not in the Constitution. Separation of church and state. Listen, I'm gonna no. Listen to this. Hold on. I'll get to your question. Hold on. Separation of church and state was written by Jefferson in a letter to a Baptist. The way he interpreted that meant that there should be a separation of church and state, that the state has no business to interfere with the matters of the church. That's how Jefferson meant it to be written. What atheist judges, now you can look this up, what atheist judges today are now saying is it's not in the Constitution. This wasn't a separate letter that Jefferson wrote.
Can we read the Constitution, the Establishment Clause allowed then?
But atheist judges are but it's not the way they interpret it. Now think about this. Why would founding fathers who believed in the Bible, who made their laws and constitution based off their morals that they got from the Bible, then say, I can get to that too. I can get to that too.
I get the point of taking the
why would they then say, but we're going to keep the Bible that we put into the Constitution and the powers and the laws, we're going to say you can separate it. That's not the way, this is how atheist secular judges today are interpreting it. But that's not the way Jefferson wrote it. That's not what he meant by it.
But how would you know how he wrote it?
Involved in drafting and also signing on to the Constitution, which we'll look it up. Which felt that
I can't hear you.
There's other colonies and other colonists.
He's saying there's other colonies and other colonists, other leaders
who weren't just Protestant,
which
felt that it was in their interest, to have this establishment clause because they were afraid of Protestants taking away their rights. Do you know how New Haven, Connecticut was founded?
No.
It was founded because Catholics.
New Haven was founded by Catholics.
In the Virginia colony were expelled.
In the Virginia colony were expelled.
Origins in the colonial period.
What do you believe? Are you agnostic, atheist,
I believe that. I have
Christian?
a soul.
Wait, hold up. It doesn't matter what he believes.
Your Bible's descendants does not mean that you have the right to take my own ideas away.
So what are you, like New Age? You believe we have a soul? You believe in like a higher power? You just don't know who he is?
I believe that you're only here because you like to stoke up division and distraction.
Okay.
And ultimately, you're not changing.
You have every right to believe that if you want. Well, you don't know that. You don't know what's going on in their minds.
Has anyone's opinion been changed? Nobody will raise their hand. Why?
Has anybody's opinions been changed? We don't know. Maybe one day it will be. His opinion's been changed.
You're here to instigate. Let's be honest.
No, you don't know what's in my heart, young man. You're playing God. First of all, you're not God. You have no clue what's going on in all of these people's heads to make the claim that nobody cares what I'm saying. I think a lot of people are learning things and listening because they're intrigued. I think some people think like you.
It's not intriguing.
No, wait a second. Wait a second. You can't. Wait a second, young man. You cannot make the claim as if you're God Almighty. You don't know what's going on in all their heads to think that this is entertaining. Some of them might be digesting some of this, genuinely learning new things, just like they'd learned something from a fun teacher in a class. You're also judging my heart, saying I'm here because I want to instigate. You don't know my heart's intention. You don't know.
God call you to do this because you don't want to go into hell?
But yeah, I don't. I want to see you guys. Yeah. Now wait a second. Now that's a different thing than instigating, isn't it? So now I have a. Yeah, it is. No, bro. No. I'm genuinely here because I care about you, and he's here because he cares about you. And right now I have Fred here, and Fred cares about you so much that he wants to talk to you, right, Fred? Fred wants to have a conversation with you guys. Fred's a real nice guy, guys. Let's give a hand for Fred.
Yeah, Fred.
I want to ask you guys all a question and be totally honest with yourselves with this question. This is maybe the most important question you could be asked. If Christianity is true, if Jesus Christ, let's go on a limb. A lot of you don't believe it's true. I'm saying let's go out on a limb together. And let's say, if Christianity is true, if Jesus is God, if he came to earth on a rescue mission, if he is the only...
don't cover the top.
If he is the only way to God, and he wants your greatest good, and you might not understand what your greatest good is, but he's far above us. Let's just say we're all on this limb together, and he wants your greatest good. He wants to bless you, and he knows much more than you or I, and he wants to save you, and he loves you. Would you become a Christian? Would you follow that God of the Bible if all of this stuff is true, what I just said? You're shaking your head. I just said he loves you and he wants your greatest good and he knows better than us, and you shake your head and you say, no, you would not follow that God? Why? Would you come and talk on the mic and tell me why? Would you?
I'm just saying I don't need to follow anything except my personal religion. I'm not religious at all, but I continue to follow moral standards for other people, but I don't need to follow a Bible or any kind of religion. I don't need to follow a higher God, any other person, just what I believe to be the greater good of society and for myself.
But you were not on that limb with me. On that limb, I said, God wants your greatest good and he knows better than us, and so
that's only if I believe in God. That's only if I believe in God. In the case that I believe in God, sure, but I do not believe in God.
Okay, because you weren't out on the limb with me. I said we are going out on a limb of what if. And so you shook your head that so you would become a Christian and do things God's way if you knew his ways were better and right, and even though you didn't understand everything, he is good and he wants your greatest good. Would you follow that God and do things his way?
You watch YouTube?
We're going, yeah, but I watch Cliff all the time.
Yeah, I got a big channel.
Okay, so you're not understanding my question. My question is, if it's true, I know it's a hypothetical. I know you don't believe that at this moment. I hope someday you do.
We're gonna go eat real quick.
But I'm saying, if everything I described, is there anybody out there that wouldn't follow the God I just described? Would you follow the God I just described?